Welcome everyone to another episode of La Cosecha Media Lounge. I'm your host, Andrea Cano with Summit K-12. And on today's episode, we have Dr. Juan Freire from Brigham Young University. Thank you so much for being here today. Can you tell me a little bit about who you are? What's your why?
Okay, so yes, my name is Juan Freire and I'm an associate professor at Brigham Young University. I used to be an elementary school teacher for 7 years, 3 of those in Utah as a Spanish dual language bilingual teacher. Yeah.
Yo también.
Ah,
I was a dual language teacher.
Awesome,
También.
mira.
Awesome. Yeah.
Great.
What grades did you teach?
I taught second grade, but in Spain, where I first taught, I was a specialist teacher, taught first through fifth grade.
Oh, okay. So de España. ¿De qué parte de España?
Madrid.
Okay.
Yep.
My son would love that.
Okay.
He's a big Madrid fan. So
Oh,
he'd
nice,
love that.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yes. Well, so what do you love about what you do?
Well, as a professor, I do research, and my focus is equity in dual language bilingual education. So that is my passion. That's what I do. I focus mainly in 2 different areas. One of them is critical consciousness in dual language bilingual education. I was the first one to propose critical consciousness as a programmatic goal of dual language bilingual education. That was based on my collaborative work with 8 dual language teachers in Utah back in 2012. And then I published my dissertation in 2014. So that is one area that I'm really passionate about. And then my colleagues and I coined the term gentrification of dual language bilingual education with our publication in 2016. And a lot of scholars have joined those conversations, both the critical consciousness and the gentrification.
Yes. And so for someone that doesn't know what that means,
Yes.
what do they mean? What do those separate buckets mean?
So critical consciousness is based on Paulo Freire's work. And critical consciousness means the ability to understand inequities and injustices in both societies and institutions, including discrimination based on race, class, gender, language, you name it. So being able to understand those and do something about it is what critical consciousness says. Gentrification, on the other hand, is used as a metaphor based on urban gentrification. Urban gentrification means how some residents are displaced because wealthier residents move in, and then rent goes up, taxes go up, and they're kicked out, and they take over. And we notice that that's what's happening in some areas of the country with dual language bilingual education in different ways. Sometimes with demographics, they take over and they push us out. On the other hand, sometimes we see that within the classroom when educators consciously or unconsciously focus more on white English-speaking students. They celebrate like, oh, mira qué bien, ya sabe leer, qué bien. And with nuestra gente, well, come
Pues
on.
no sabe ser esto, no puede ser
No,
esto.
pues que ni habla español, ni habla inglés.
La meta es diferente.
Right, they see focus on all the deficits, but there's no deficit for the English-speaking students learning Spanish. So that's different ways of how our students, nuestra gente, have been pushed out while they take over and come in, and the curriculum, pedagogies, programs are focused on them.
Yes. And it is, I was a two-way 50-50 teacher, so I know exactly what you're talking. You'll say. And I do believe bilingualism is important. I wish everyone could be bilingual,
Absolutely.
but we have to do it carefully with taking our students who actually truly need that support. And it's not an enrichment for them, it's a support for them. And how do we bring in those other students who it is an enrichment? It is something that we want them to be bilingual too. And not forget about this. So I love that that's what your work is about.
Exactly. Because we're not opposed to having these students. The problem is that when we forget about the Latino students, the students who need it, because otherwise they will not be able to communicate with their abuelitos in Mexico, with their grandparents, right? Or they will not be able to, they're expected to speak Spanish based on how they look like, but then they don't, because they're not being invited to the program, because the new programs are being implemented in schools where there's no access for them. So it has to, so the gentrification is looking at those things.
And as we know, the importance, one of the key things about bilingual education is that we fortify, we strengthen that L1
Yes.
so that L2 comes a lot easier for them. So we have to give them that support to really make that Spanish or whatever that other language is, really fortify it in the dual language setting so that the English can then come.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and that was my presentation today on the 4 goals of dual language bilingual education. I did it in Spanish. I was very happy. It was packed. I was like, wow, this is my first time presenting in Spanish in the US, like at a conference. So it was the Cómo cumplir las 4 metas de dual language bilingual education with critical consciousness as one of those goals. Tomorrow I'm presenting on the gentrification of dual language bilingual education.
¿Y también va a ser en español?
No, this time will be in English.
Sí.
Un poco de cada. Un poco de cada.
Yeah,
exactly.
¿Y puedes decirnos poquito más de tu presentación de hoy?
Bueno, algo importante de la presentación de hoy creo que is the importance of how the 4 goals have to be interconnected, how they have to support each other. We sometimes see them as isolated, as pillars, but they're not static. We need to see them as a whole with the idea of pushing towards what I call in my dissertation critical academic achievement. Academic achievement sometimes is perceived as something traditional, but not from a critical perspective. It's based on accountability, the test scores, the state, but we need to see it holistically, right? With critical consciousness, with languages, with sociocultural competence, and make sure that that meets the needs and interests of our students.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's a critical piece in dual language, especially
definitely.
as more and more states, more and more districts want to implement because they see the power of bilingualism. Just like I was sitting here earlier with another presenter, and she had mentioned how the dual language students were outperforming the monolingual students on assessments and things like that. So we have more people wanting to partake in that and get the benefit of that. So I think it's important work that you are doing. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, and is this the first time you have been to La Cosecha?
Oh, no. I've been there for many years. I love it.
Okay, so that's
La Cosecha fan.
Yes. So what do you love about La Cosecha? What's your favorite thing?
Well, I love La Cosecha. Here's where está mi gente.
Sí, ¿verdad?
Like,
La
I
familia,
love it.
la
Mi
cultura, todo
familia
eso.
intelectual.
Sí.
I love interacting with teachers, leaders, different people, and this is we're having critical conversations here that are not happening in other spaces. So I love it. It's just like where I feel comfortable.
Sí, ¿verdad? It's a space where like-minded people come together, but it's also where we can learn. We can learn so much, and it's not scratching the surface anymore. We're digging deeper, and we're really learning a lot more. And I wish I'm here. I love interviewing and talking to people and hearing all the great things, but I wish I could be in those sessions because I hear, and then I'm hearing that they're all packed. And people are running from session to session so that they can make it to the next session. So, but yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing what you're doing, and thank you for the work you're doing.
My pleasure. I love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of La Cosecha Media Lounge. Thank you for being here today. And remember, keep learning, stay curious, y hasta la próxima. Disfruta el viaje.